Hi, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. Gonna do something slightly different on this channel, a little different on this channel. Not talking about music, not talking about auditory anything, talking about television, visual media, and I'm going to kind of pull apart every episode of the new Black Mirror season. Excuse me, just feeling a little under the weather. Please bear with me. Going to be talking about every episode of the new Black Mirror season 4. Awesome, or originally British television program. In my opinion, one of the best sci-fi programs in a long time. You could call it that or a lot of different things, depending on the episode, really, honestly. Some episodes are more cerebral, some episodes are more thrilling, but usually what ties it all in together is that there's this running theme of technology or dystopia through technology that really kind of ties it all in together, sort of looks at technology in kind of a very dark and interesting way that I don't think any other show of this age has. And simultaneously, I think the program really kind of carries on the whole Twilight Zone ethos really, really well, but in a way and in a style all its own. Now, in my opinion, this new season over here has not been that great. So my ratings are going to reflect that. It's been my least favorite season so far. But that's part of the reason I feel like I'm doing this video, because I feel like there's a lot to talk about here as far as like what has made Black Mirror so great up until this point versus where I think it's seriously lacking right now. Now, that's not to say that every episode in the season has been god-awful, not the case at all. Though there's very little in this season that I would rank supremely high, if anything. Let's get into the list. You guys may have seen me rating some of these episodes or all the episodes already on Twitter, but I have kind of changed my ratings a little bit to reflect some deeper thought that I gave to each episode. So here we go. Number 1, USS Callister, Strong 7. This, in my opinion, is a great start to the season. I really kind of liked the storyline on here. I think the one issue I had with the episode is that, and listen, this is full of spoilers over here, and I'm assuming that you guys have seen the show, so I would actually recommend that you probably go see the show if you have not seen the show yet. Do not watch this video first unless you're willing to sit through some spoilers. But I love the setup here. I loved a lot of the characters. I loved the makeup. I loved the acting in this episode for the most part. If there was one major flaw and issue in this episode, it was mostly in that it seemed like the main antagonist, who had sort of captured all of his coworkers into this computer program where he was essentially just torturing them by making them play into this game where they were all on this Star Trek-like ship and going on these adventures and expeditions where they would essentially have to play into whatever scene or role he's placed them into, or else he would make them suffer by changing them into something or hurting them. Even though they were sort of digital facsimiles of themselves, they could still sort of suffer in the digital world while their real selves were outside, none the wiser, just like, no, blah, 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 blah. You're not really knowing or understanding anything about it. This guy was merely just kind of having all of this play out in his own little digital playground in his own apartment, which I guess at the end of the day, I sit there and wonder, like, well, then if that's the case, what does it really matter? Although Black Mirror has faced us with this idea on numerous occasions in previous seasons of our real selves versus our digital selves, and is there a way to sort of have a copy of yourself that's pretty much real? And if that's the case, does that copy of you have rights? Does that copy of you have just as much humanity as you do? Which I guess is kind of an ethical question here that I do find interesting. If there's one issue, though, which I've been trying to get to, that I have with this episode, it's that guy was just a little too easily duped. Not that I think that he should have been so smart that he couldn't have been beaten. Obviously, you want to see that guy go down. And again, this is another weird turn for Black Mirror, because not a lot of episodes in Black Mirror up until this point have had a happy ending. Not typically a Black Mirror thing necessarily, but it seems like that's something that they are being more and more open to, especially since the explosion of the San Junipero episode, which we will talk about later in this list, which many of you have probably seen, the female couple who fall in love while they are sort of online in, sort of a digital, almost Second Life type of plane. But to me, the character was a little too easily duped by this person who it should have been pretty obvious that he shouldn't trust her. He already knew not to trust her. He was going to change her into some alien or totally just fuck her shit up until another character stood up for her, and then he fucked her shit up instead. And then all of a sudden, the next time he sees her, she's being all subservient and flirty and playful and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't really make any sense that he would be so easily just ooh. I get the guy was kind of nerdy and didn't really know or I guess or understand maybe usual human interactions or whatever, because he was just really awkward. But still, it doesn't really seem like an excuse for such an easy dupe, which to me was a little lazy as far as the writing goes. But outside of that, I thought it was a solid episode, and really kind of enjoyed the progression of it, enjoyed the tension of it, thought it had a good sense of humor as well at points, and thought it embodied a lot of those fantastic elements of Black Mirror, but maybe not in such a way where there was an amazing twist or the technology was advanced or explored in such a way where it was mind-blowing or whoa, what an amazing idea. I never would have even conceived such a thing. Unfortunately, that was not really the case. But it was still a very compelling storyline and still mostly a smart episode and a fun and an interesting episode, and started things off on a somewhat high note, I guess. Moving on from there, Arkangel, an episode that was directed by Jodie Foster. However, still a light 6 from me overall. Liked the episode, but wasn't really that crazy about the episode. I feel like the episode had good fundamentals. I think that the daughter was a compelling character. The mother's motivations in this episode were really obvious, but I think only because most of us already get and have ingrained in our heads this visual of the helicopter parent, of the overprotective parent. If not for that archetype already sitting in our heads, I think that we wouldn't really fully understand this woman's motivations because they don't really illustrate them that well. Sure, she wants to protect her daughter and she wants to watch over her daughter, but the fact that she goes this far to do it, implanting something into her kid's head that basically censors visuals, allows her to see everything and anything she's doing, check her heart rate or whatever to make sure that she's okay or that she's not too excited or something dangerous is happening to her. The fact that she went that far shows just how neurotic she is, and we don't really get into that neurosis. And to me, the story really kind of becomes more about the mother being protective of the daughter to the point where the daughter just goes insane and lashes out, which honestly, you could push it to that point even without this technology. You really could. So what does this technology really kind of bring to the table outside of just you can see from where she's seeing? What's the difference between that and the mother, just showing up everywhere where the daughter's at and just, harassing her and just being like, don't do that, don't talk to that boy, blah, 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 blah. That easily could drive you crazy too. The only difference is the mom is just kind of playing, in the back seat. And that I guess kind of leads me to another weird theme in this season. There's a lot of themes in this season of just being able to see things through other people's eyes. There's so many points in this season where you could just see what the other person is seeing from just first person view, which is kind of dawning on me now, which is sort of weird, but whatever. But what really kind of got me about this episode is just how uninteresting and basically unexplored the technology of this episode was. For how easy it was the mother to get it, they didn't get at all into the idea of, okay, so this little girl has it, this implant in her head, but it seems like no other kid in this girl's school has it. And yet, again, it seemed like it had commercial availability to the point where you would think that there are other customers or other people in the area that would also have this technology. Think of an entire generation of kids who have to grow up like this. Think of, basically, what if this girl is dating a guy and the guy also has the technology in his head, and both of their parents are actively working against, this relationship happening at the same time. Like, what would that do? That's an interesting storyline. That's a weird, crazy kind of angle. But instead, the mom just essentially drives the daughter crazy by being in her head all day to the point where the daughter just lashes out at her in a really extreme way. And that was going to happen. You could see that coming from a mile away the moment that you saw that, okay, this is going to drive the daughter crazy. It's limiting her ability to basically function in the world, and nobody else is being exposed to this. Nobody else is suffering through this except her in the entire episode. So, really obvious storyline and technology explored in a really, really uninteresting, really surface level way. But still, cinematography was pretty good. The characters, for the most part, were compelling. The storyline as it was okay. It wasn't interesting. It just wasn't interesting. And again, the direction a lot of the time I thought was pretty good too. It's just the storyline and again, that element of exploring the technology in a really dark or a really interesting or a really almost like inconceivable way, that just wasn't there. It wasn't there. Moving on from there, another episode where we're essentially seeing things from other people's point of view, Crocodile. An episode where a woman, back in her younger years, in her years where she was a little more less risk averse, I guess, with a friend of hers, they kill somebody in a car, they got to dump the body, and it becomes this big dark secret that they have to hide for the rest of their lives. And then her friend comes back into her life who was there during this accidental killing. And he says, well, I'm on this program, I'm clean now, and I got to come clean and I got to admit what I did here to sort of finish my program. And she's like, no, you can't do that. It'll come back on me. I'll get in trouble. Ah. So, of course, she kills the friggin' guy. And then because she kills him, she has to kill another person. And it's just this endless thing. And how she is kind of getting caught and closed in on is this person outside of her window gets hit by a delivery truck. And that creates this ball that's rolling where this, I guess you can call her an insurance adjuster from the future, is going around interviewing people about the crash, about, I guess, the accident that this guy was in with the delivery truck. And just basically putting an implant in people's heads and getting the visuals, getting the memories out of their heads so that she could use that as evidence in court. So I guess that's kind of a cool piece of technology that you could sort of bring these memories, recorded memories, into court as evidence for an accident or murder or whatever. But the issue here is that they're kind of displaying some really weird inaccuracies or quirks to this technology that don't quite make sense later into the episode. Like there is a dentist character who misremembers the color of someone's coat. You need to kind of coax the memories out of the people who you're getting them from by telling them to think of a certain thing or, giving them a certain thing to remind them of that time that they have to recall, that they have to remember. So this woman is interviewing person after person after person until she basically runs into the lady who murdered her friend because from the hotel window, she saw the guy get hit by the delivery truck after she killed her friend. So she doesn't want this lady mucking around in her head or else she's going to see that she murdered her friend. Now, the insurance adjuster says to her, well, you got to do it because The insurance companies, the law says that if you've seen an accident, you've got to let us do it. If you don't, we can take you to court and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like that is such a weird footnote in the show, and it really should be like this major, what the fuck? Why do we live in an age where insurance companies can basically bring you to court for not letting you rummage around in your brain and like basically farm your memories? Like, how have we gone so far that that's basically like, hey, that's just totally cool. That's just what it is, man. That's just the age we live in. Honestly, like if you really didn't want someone in your head, I wouldn't just let them in my house. I'd fight that shit in court, or I would send them on their way. And then afterwards, I would try to hop on the next plane or, I don't know, swim out of the country or something, because the thing is, it doesn't quite make sense that you would just let that person in your house. They're not the authorities. They're not going to arrest you right there with handcuffs. So, I mean, you have the opportunity to try to get out of there or do something, or fight this, or at least take it to court and try to, I don't know, just, I guess, fight for the right of people to not have their memories stolen by insurance companies. I mean, there are laws, at least that we have in America, that you can't be forced into incriminating yourself. You could plead the fifth. Wouldn't this be the same sort of thing? My memories plead the fucking fifth, but whatever. I probably have that fucked up in a way, but that's my little rant. But finally, the thing about the episode that is the worst, because listen, the technological element of this episode, it's kind of cool. But like Arkangel, it's used and it's employed in a really lazy way and a really surface level way and a really uninteresting way. And it seems like the episode mostly just kind of centers around this lady killing people. Which old moral of the story, it's like if you just continue to tell lies and you continue to hide the truth, you're just going to have to keep lying and lying and lying and do whatever you were doing in order to keep the truth hidden this whole time. Like, that's a story as old as friggin' time. Like, it's not that interesting. But the technological element where it really falls apart is this lady has to kill the insurance adjuster, then she has to go to her house, kill her husband because he knows where she went. I don't know why it didn't look like she did much to sort of probably wipe like maybe her computer or anything. Maybe they kind of just glossed over that a little bit to save time. But then, of course, the lady has a kid. She's walking through the hallway. She sees the baby, and then she has to kill the baby. Oh, no. Like, okay, I get it. It's sad. It's sad. But here's the thing. Given what we know about the technology up until this point, just how inaccurate it could be, how you have to coax the memories out of the subject in order to get them to tell you what you want them to tell you, why would a baby's friggin' memories be admissible in court? And how do we know that a baby's memories are accurate? And how do we get those memories out of the baby? And also, if we even could do that, why would the baby remember accurately that specific moment in time? The baby didn't see the murder. She just saw the white lady walk by in a hoodie. That's all the baby saw. Ugh. And what's funny is like the memories on the box on the scanner are like photographic in detail. So it's like, you remember people, you remember places, you remember things, but like most people don't have photographic like, reenactments of like, people's actual faces going on in their heads. But whatever. The worst thing about it though is that the baby, she kills the baby. So the baby's not even a loose end. So, I personally don't think it made sense to have to kill the baby, but the baby's not a loose end anymore. Okay. But the cops are in the house. They're going through the crime scene. And what the fuck do? They pick up a fucking guinea pig and they put the fucking plant on the guinea pig and they pull out the fucking guinea pig memories. Fucking guinea pig memories. Like, what the fuck? How would you even coax that memory out of the guinea pig? Not only would it be harder to get a baby to remember a time that a person walked by a door, but how would you get a guinea pig to remember a time a person murdered a baby? A guinea pig doesn't know what the fuck murder is. How do we even know that the guinea pig was watching this whole time? And how would we coax that memory out of the guinea pig? Like, what would you say to the guinea pig to get it to remember the lady murdering the baby? Can you just scroll through the guinea pig's memories like a VHS and just rewind and fast forward? And if you could do that, then why are we going through this whole routine of getting people to like actually remember the moment in time? Why don't we just fucking rewind that shit and look at it there? It doesn't make any fucking sense. How the fuck can you get guinea pig memories out of a guinea pig? And further, like, if a baby's memories are admissible in court, why the fuck are guinea pig memories admissible in court? How do we even know what the fuck a guinea pig's like memory span is? Like, what the fuck? Guinea pig memories? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, how do we not know that the guinea pig wasn't just like eating pellets at the time that the baby was getting murdered and not even looking or just like drinking out of its water bottle? Ugh. Guinea pig memories. Dumbest fucking plot twist of any Black Mirror episode every season, hands down. Guinea pig memories. But yeah, it's probably going to be the most intense rant of this whole video. So there you go. And we're only halfway through. Hang the DJ, Light 3, in my opinion, worst episode of the season. It's basically like San Junipero for straight people. That's really kind of all you can say. There's so many terrible takeaways from this episode. Like the storyline is barely there. It's mostly padded out with like relationship montages. It's so obvious before the episode is even halfway through that the computer is either going to pair this couple up or that it is basically daring them to be together and that was the computer's plan the whole time. But the worst takeaway from this whole episode, and almost like the moral of the story in a way, which is kind of fucked up, is that it's almost like the episode is trying to tell you like, hey, trust computer. Do what computer tell you. And if you do, everything will be all right. Like that's terrible fucking advice. That's the exact opposite advice of nearly every Black Mirror episode up until this point. Like, Black Mirror's ethos isn't technology bad, but it certainly is very close to technology most likely can be very bad if used in the incorrect way. And because humans are so flawed, it's most likely going to be used in the incorrect way. So for the takeaway from this episode to be trust computer, it seems like really fucked up. Like, it would have been more interesting if like, okay, the computer's telling you guys that you can't be together even though you really want to be together. What if while in these other relationships that they were in, they started cheating? You know, or they really did decide to run off beyond the wall super early. And then instead there was like some kind of dark, crazy apocalypse world beyond the wall. And they were like, okay, are we going to like live in bliss and be separate? Or are we just going to like be together because we love each other in basically like a living hell? Like, what's our choice here? Instead, like, they ended the episode so lazily with them escaping. And then it just ended up being like a digital world. Like, what the fuck? Seriously? Like, why? What does that even mean? Like, it just seemed like a loose end that they threw out there as like an aha moment when it's really not an aha moment. It's really more like a, oh, okay, that's your excuse for this. Like, was I supposed to see the world turning into like, oh, wow, the world's actually not real? What a mind-blowing moment. Like, is that the reaction I was supposed to have? Like, whoa, it was fake this whole time. It was like the Truman Show or something. Wow. Like, so many elements of this episode just felt like they were ripped straight out of San Junipero. But in that episode, the love story was so much more compelling. The level of intimacy with the characters and the character development was so much higher. You actually had like a bit of excitement in your heart when you saw them get together. And you knew that they were going to be together, and it sort of broke your heart during those moments where it seemed like they were separated and that it might not happen. Like with this couple, it was just basically like, who cares? Like, I don't know. I was sitting there thinking, why do you guys even like each other? Like, I don't know, you're not the most attractive people I've seen in this entire episode. And it's not like when you guys were together for that short amount of time, you were like really hit it the fuck off. Like, you guys seem just as average and just as boring as every other jagoff that appears in this episode. So, like, I don't know, why are you guys so into each other? Like, I didn't see the spark. I didn't see the connection. I didn't see what was so amazing and compelling and exciting about them being together. And ultimately, for them to sort of daringly go against the computer and run off together seemed almost like by design from the program itself. Like, it seemed almost like they were meant to do that the entire time, and they weren't doing it against, the will of the programmer, that they weren't really being challenged significantly in any other way outside of like, people are staring at you. Some people are staring at you in a really judging way, and the computer, the hand module, is telling you not to be together. It's like, as far as you could tell, those are the only things keeping them apart. So, I mean, if those things can keep you apart so easily, just everyone around you looking, and a fucking like shitty talking dome with a timestamp on it staring you in the face, like, I don't know. It seemed like they were just way too easily separable for me to be like, yeah, they have to be together. They have to be together. Like, they went off 6 to 9 months separate, screwing other people while still thinking about each other. Like, please, give me a friggin' break. Like, it was such a bad love story. So many corny loose ends. There wasn't really illustrated in any significant way, like, why is anybody following this friggin' computer? And what is the punishment for not following the computer? Like, and really, at the end of the day, just terrible advice, terrible moral of the story, in my opinion. All right, 5th episode, Metalhead Strong 5. I guess I don't have much to say about this episode outside of that it's a fucking lady getting chased by a robot. Like, really. It's not that interesting. Like, I get the robot is kind of cool. The effects are pretty decent. The idea to do the whole episode in black and white, I think kind of enhanced the quality of the CGI a little bit, because I feel like it could have had some shortcomings here and there, but it looked a little bit more real. Outside of that, the robot seeming cool, it's not like the chase of the whole thing was really all that interesting. It's not like what these people were risking their lives for was like, oh my God, the teddy bears. Oh no. Like, really, if you're living in a situation where shit is that dire, nobody's going to go risk their shit for a friggin' teddy bear. Like, please, give me a friggin' break. Give me a friggin' break. Can you see all the soldiers sort of like living in hell in Terminator 2 under the oppression of Skynet, and fucking Terminators are busting into their shit every other week and just gunning them down? You see all those soldiers going out on teddy bear runs? Like, give me a fucking break. Come on. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Sure, it's cute, and maybe it's like, oh, they risk their lives for teddies. Like, I guess if you're emotionally moved by anything, it's emotionally moving. But like, come on, like, for real here, okay, for real. Some aspects of the robot were cool, but again, it's not like the chase was all that interesting. Like, I guess it was cool that it, had a dark ending. That to me seemed like, a truly Black Mirror moment. Maybe this episode had the most Black Mirror ending of the whole season. But the pacing was that interesting. And to simply just be chased down by a friggin' robot is not really, in my opinion, taking technology in a way where it seems like you're pushing the boundaries, you're expanding people's minds. And some of the best things about sci-fi, and some of the most interesting things about sci-fi in the past, is that when you have writers and when you have creators coming up with things, coming up with technology, coming up with scientific theories and ideas that don't even exist yet, that aren't even real. And I think that there are elements of that and instances of that in past Black Mirror episodes. However, not so much in this season, though. Not as much in this season. Maybe an element of that in this episode where you have the robot sort of having this explosive shrapnel hitting its targets, and the shrapnel is actually like has homing qualities to it, which I thought was kind of cool, kind of interesting. But to me, that was the one thing about the robot that was interesting. And the robot was so friggin' technologically advanced, right? And then all of a sudden, what ends up sort of beating the robot? The lady climbing up a fucking tree. Like, are you kidding me? The robot doesn't have just like a fucking gun it could shoot shit down from the tree with. Like, the robot seems to have everything up its sleeve, but it can't get up a fucking tree, and it can't get something it wants to kill out of a tree. You would think that after all of that effort, that whoever designed the friggin' thing would come up with a way for it to like kill somebody, shoot something out of a friggin' tree. Or whatever. Or that backup would have come earlier, because the lady sat there all night with the robot, and it was just that one lady and that one robot, but I digress. All right, let's get into the last episode of the season, Black Museum. I'm not really going to rant too long on this episode because I don't think it's one of the worst episodes of the season. I thought the episode tied up better than it began. The least compelling part of the entire episode was the whole storyline where the husband had his comatose wife transplanted into his head. Yet another moment in the season where everybody's just seeing from the first person view of another person. Oh, we haven't done this yet in this season. Oh, Jesus Christ, here's another person seeing from the viewpoint of another person. I'm in your head again. Like, how many times are we going to throw the same old tired technological cliche out there where we see through somebody else's head? Like, it's really not that exciting. I can see through my own head, and it's okay. It's not really that exciting, okay? Like, you could see where that storyline was going a mile away. Like, they were obviously going to make the husband and the wife become slowly annoyed with one another over time. However, I mean, if that were to really, really, really happen, you would think that the husband and wife would sort of be smart enough to establish some real and serious ground rules. You know, like, hey, listen, you're not my wife anymore. You're just kind of this downloaded person in my head. You're not physically here, and it's hard to sort of raise a child on your own. Our son can't even hear you outside of my head. You're just kind of here experiencing everything I'm experiencing. Can we make it so that you basically don't have the same amount of say over my life that you would if you were still out here physically sort of in person? Because I feel like, and that goes both ways, you know, husband or wife, or really kind of any other person that you have inside of your head. Whereas the girl at the end of the episode had her mother implanted in her head, which I thought was, you know, a kind of cool tie-up at the end of the episode, which again, as I said earlier, the episode finishes better than it starts. To me, that middle storyline was just like a little too annoying and a little too surface level. Like, again, I saw that kind of ending coming from a mile away, but I feel like maybe given the right couple, there could have been room for sort of negotiation there. But I feel like at the end of the day, you know, they just kind of brought it in a really obvious direction. But what really kind of bugged me about the episode is that it had this really annoying narrative element to it where, you know, this girl goes to this black museum and it's filled with all these really dark technological things that are all scary and have dark stories and really nasty pasts. And he's telling the story of every little item that she comes across. And it kind of has like a really bad Tales from the Crypt kind of vibe to it that gets really old fast, in my opinion, especially since I don't think that the guy is like that great of a narrator. I find his vocals like a little grating and a little annoying. Why he works for this medical technology company that basically experiments on people, and the hospital just allows him to just go through the hospital all day saying, hey, can't help but have heard that you can't pay for your health care. Will you let my company experiment on you? Why the hospital allows this, I don't know. I'm sure there's some easily explainable reason as to why that is. Maybe they just pay them off. I guess it's probably just a money thing at the end of the day. But still, it's still a little silly. Still kind of has a weird dumb crypt keeper kind of quality to it, in my opinion. To me, the tales he was telling were kind of corny in general. The head transplant one being the corniest of all of them. But the first one wasn't really that interesting either. Like, it was to a degree, but then once the guy started hacking himself apart, it was just like, okay, it's just like a little silly now. But again, I did like the ending. I thought the ending was one of the better endings of every Black Mirror episode so far. Thought it was cool that the girl ended up being the daughter of the father whose digital self, another recurring theme in this episode, digital self transplanted into like a digital jail. You're shocking him in the electric chair for whatever reason. This digital electric chair has physical repercussions on his digital self. To the point where like they have lasting impacts to where he's turned into a vegetable. It seems like a little much. You're kind of stretching what feasibly makes sense. You're stretching my ability to suspend belief here, but I'll bite because the ending did seem somewhat solid. It tied up pretty nice. It had a nice sort of sweet, fun ending. And again, that's sort of the season overall. Again, in my opinion, weakest season so far. Black Museum, generally good. Arkangel was okay, but I think it could have been better in a lot of ways. To me, that episode was honestly one of the easiest or most obvious to improve or change. USS Callister, I thought, was generally a pretty good episode, but half the season to me was just bunk. But that is my long-winded review and rant about this new Black Mirror season. Let me know down in the comments how much you hate me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out, or you can click on the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Black Mirror, Season 4, forever.